Hello, everybody. Melissa Simonson here with this week's episode of Amaze on Stream. And this week, I'm super excited to introduce you guys to Laura McCaul of Sponsored Profit. Laura, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm so excited to have you joining us here in the new 2022 because I'm excited to dive in deep and learn a little bit more about some of the people behind the services that we know. And, we've seen some of these faces, they're recognizable, but what made those people who they are today? So I would love to dive right in if you're up for it.
Let's do it.
Okay, right. Awesome. So Laura, where are you from?
So I'm from the UK, and I currently am residing in the UK as well. I have travelled over the years, but yes, I'm in a very cold and frosty Worcester in the UK today.
Worcester.
Yes, Worcester.
That's how you say it.
As in Worcestershire sauce. Very simple.
That's so great.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. So so now you are originally from Worcester, which I'm gonna say that name so many times now.
I'm actually originally from Oxford, but living in Worcester.
Okay. And so then what about your parents? When you were growing up, was entrepreneurship something you were introduced to early in life? Was this something that you had early influences of, or how did that kind of present itself? What did your parents do?
Yeah, so my dad had his own company. He was in groundwork and construction. So groundworks are typically, before houses or buildings get built, someone has to kind of go in and basically dig all the foundations, or the sort of the groundworks essentially for all the main services. All that needs to be prepped beforehand. So that's what my dad did. My dad was Irish. He moved over to the UK in the 60s, like a lot of Irish did, because there wasn't a lot of work in Ireland, and he went to Coventry, sort of big sort of Irish community there, and construction seems to be one of the things that a lot of Irish men sort of kind of got into, and so that's how he got his start, and I was introduced to that from a child.
Yeah, and your mom, excuse me, your mom, did she was she a homemaker or?
No, yes and no. So I have a younger sister. We were very fortunate in that mum was kind of available to us when we were home after school, but she actually kind of was the driver behind my dad's business. So, my dad had started kind of contracting for himself before he met my mum, but sort of my mum kind of really, I guess, encouraged and sort of pushed into to grow the business. And so, she would work a few hours every day. We had a home office, on the business. And then, she was available to me and my sister after school. So we were very blessed to have that upbringing.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you sort of had kind of that balance as well, which is, it's rare and very special indeed.
It is. And, you kind of take it for granted thinking that everybody has that, and then as you get older you realize that's not the case. So yeah, we were very lucky.
Yeah. So as you're going through your kind of elementary school, middle school, high school years, were you expecting that you would kind of go the entrepreneurial route, or that you did you plan on going to college?
Yeah, I definitely planned on going to college. We grew up, so we lived in the Cotswolds, which is just outside Oxford, so in Oxfordshire, which is absolutely beautiful. But as a kid, especially sort of by the time you get to high school age, it's like, oh, it's boring. There's nothing to do around here, because you're in this idyllic kind of countryside. And I just was convinced that the streets were paved with gold in London. So I couldn't wait to kind of get out of the country and into the big city. So I always sort of had that drive to move away and to study. I enjoyed school, but I also enjoyed working. I always had part-time jobs. And I think, at some point I kind of imagined that maybe I would work for myself. My mum and dad made it look easy, but I know it wasn't. And so again, I think I had a bit of a maybe, I wouldn't say unrealistic expectations, but they were very good at, let's say, shielding the stresses and strains that come with running your business. We kind of didn't get exposed to a lot of that, and so I thought, oh yeah, this kind of, that looks good. I might do that, but I wanted to kind of find my feet, do my own thing first, and work. And interestingly enough, I studied politics at university, not because I wanted to get into politics, but because I was a little shy, which maybe some people, if they know me, especially on a night out, might find that hard to believe. But I really wanted to be able to come out of my own shell. I was really interested in politics, but the great thing about studying politics was, you just had to formulate an argument or a position and back it up. And so I just really wanted the opportunity, to kind of grow in confidence, but B, kind of understand how to, if I want to do something, how do I go about doing it? Or if I believe in something, how do I kind of set a case to do that? And that's served me really well in my professional career, and of course doing what I do now. So yeah, but I kind of was interested in originally like architecture or town planning, and as we talk about sort of what my sort of career before sponsor profit and before the Amazon space, it's interesting how this building theme has kind of come about in a very non-obvious way, but we'll probably touch on that in a bit. So there's a little
interesting.
Little
teaser.
There's a little tidbit. A little teaser of what's to come.
That's awesome. So okay, so then let's go into what did you decide to do first? Once you kind of, now you have this political background, were you right? Did that help you get out of your shell a little bit and help you with that shy factor?
Yeah, it did, because I ended up moving to London, and I started out in basically in sales. So my first job was with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Okay, and they had just started in the UK. So this is like the late 90s, mid to late 90s, kind of giving away my age now. And they had a graduate management program.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I moved to London and I was working for a US company, and it was a great training program, very kind of structured, but also, they had a lot of ambitions, and they're still, here operating in the UK, but they were brand new. So yeah, it was definitely good to be able to come out of my shell and to work for a business that were kind of, I wouldn't say aggressive, but were motivated to succeed. So that was really good. And then I moved, so I kind of got a really good grounding in a 12-month program there. And then I happened to answer a job advertisement in the Times newspaper, again, when it was like, jobs were advertised in printed media, for recruitment consultants. And I didn't know what that was, but it sounded interesting. And then I spent the next several years working as an executive recruiter for financial institutions. So I specialized in recruiting technology specialists for banks. So yeah, you need to have your confidence when you're dealing with banks and bankers in particular. And again, it was a very, it's a target-driven business, and it's a people business. So you need to build relationships, and so to pick up on the building theme, in that career I was helping companies build teams, build technology teams. And I was very fortunate that career took me from London, and then I got to do that in Hong Kong, Dublin, and Sydney, Australia. So so I spent several years recruiting tech specialists for banks. I went through Y2K when everyone was expecting like planes to fall out of the skies and
Do
ATM
you know,
machines to either
I
stop working
remember
or shoot out
at that
money.
time, I was reading like, I don't even know, I think it was like internet articles or something around that time. And people were like saran wrapping their houses. Like, I don't know how to
Really?
get that size of like, like shrink wrap, but they were shrink
Oh
wrapping
my
their house
God.
just in case. And I'm like, I just want to know
Wow.
in what scenario of numbers being a problem does shrink wrapping
That's
present as the
amazing.
solution?
That's amazing, because I'm always really impressed when you go to the airport and you see people have like shrink wrapped their suitcases. I'm always
Yeah.
like, how do you get that much shrink wrap? So
Yes.
to be able to shrink wrap your house,
I can't
wow,
even. Yeah.
that's strange, but yeah, interesting. Yeah, that was, I mean, and talk about the biggest non-event.
Yeah.
We had we recruited both permanent and contract specialists, and the contract specialists at that time were earning a fortune because companies just wanted them on standby. They had all these contingencies in place, and then the clock struck 12 and everything kind of carried on. So Y2K, the dot-com bubble and burst, and really for me the last kind of hurrah of those cycles. And you really feel it as well when you're working in the banks and the banking and financial services markets, right? Some would argue they're the cause of the booms and busts, but yeah, it was the global financial crisis in 2008, and so that's when I left recruitment to pursue a completely different career. But I'd kind of gone through some really interesting times, and as I said, it kind of took me all over the world. So again, I was very lucky.
Yeah, no
to have
kidding.
those
Dublin,
opportunities.
Australia, like Hong Kong. These are amazing places to be, sort of based out of for a while for your job. That's incredible.
Yeah, I was very lucky.
So, as you're going through this, decision that you're going to be leaving the recruitment area, what kinds of things in that position helps you, kind of make the decision that it was time to leave? And then what else in your environment and maybe experiences around that time helped you decide what was going to be next?
Yeah, I think, so I think kind of going through those cycles, those ups and downs, you're kind of always you're waiting for the next high, and then you're waiting for the next low to come, because it is cyclical. So I think kind of going through several of those, but of course we face these challenges or cycles in all industries. We faced it obviously in the Amazon industry this past couple of years, just like everyone has, and the entire world has with the pandemic. So I guess it's just something that you live with. But I just also wanted to try something different. There had been a lot of changes in the industry when I was working in recruitment, and really the advent of, okay, this makes me sound ancient, but the advent of the internet, and then sort of online recruitment services and companies. It made the industry quite transactional, and for me at least less sort of personal. At least that was my experience, and I didn't enjoy that. So that combined with the cycles, and really just wanted to do something different. So I decided to take a year out, and I'd always been interested in landscaping, so I did that for a year. And it was awesome. It was amazing weather. Sydney's a beautiful city. I had some friends there who I'd met in Hong Kong. I mean, it was just great. It was a great year, and I really, really enjoyed it. But I wanted to stay in Australia, so I continued with the recruitment, but that kind of stayed with me. So I also met someone who was actually based in LA, and so the opportunity to relocate was there, and I went to, it sounds quite radical, but I went to UCLA and I studied horticulture. So I just thought, okay, I'm like, I want to do something completely different. I want to do something creative. I have the opportunity to go to LA. UCLA is a great school. It had a great course, and I kind of just went, okay, let's do it. And so
That's
so I studied
amazing.
for a year. Yeah, it was great. It was a great program. And so then I was based in LA for several years because I got a job after I graduated. And yeah, so then to carry on the building theme, so I then spent the next few years building really beautiful outdoor spaces and gardens in Southern California. So it
Wow.
was like, yeah, it was like completely different. And yeah, it's interesting how I always considered myself not to be a creative person, and I wanted to see if that was the case.
Yeah.
And doing that kind of showed me that I am. I still don't think I'm super creative, but that really allowed me to kind of use a different part of my brain, to use a different skill set. But again, I gravitated towards the client management side of things, project management, and then obviously sort of the marketing of the business to customers and stuff. So those kind of skills stayed with me. I got to use them in a different environment,
Right.
but then I also got to do something completely different as well. And and again, I really enjoyed that. And there were a lot of things I really enjoyed about being in LA as well. And I think the one thing in particular was the really, it's a very, at least I saw a very positive place. It's very entrepreneurial. Everyone's kind of got projects or ideas or starting things. And I found that very attractive. So I kind of really enjoyed that, because it's, coming out of a corporate career, LA is not a very corporate city.
Right.
There's downtown LA, but it's not like it's not like, it's not a city with a particular financial hub. I mean, that, it's so spread out. And as I said, everyone's kind of doing their own thing and freelancing or, working on a project or something. So yeah, it was really different, and I really enjoyed it. But I didn't like the traffic. That's for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
The traffic is horrible.
Yeah.
But
I have not driven there, but I have been driven there.
that's
Yeah,
the
no,
best. That's
I'm
the
like,
best. Yeah.
you just have to shut your eyes. Like for me, I'm just like, don't look, don't look.
Yeah. I know. So yeah. So
That's so
that was
interesting.
LA.
So when you now this still is fascinating to me, and I love it so much, because for me, transitioning from something you've been doing now for years in the recruitment area, you're very familiar with it, and regardless of like love it or hate it, that familiarity sometimes makes it very difficult for people to make a change. It's one of the things I think that makes it difficult for people to make the jump to entrepreneurship when they're used to a 9 to 5 and a sense of security. Part of that, I think, is the fear of change and the unknown. So it's very fascinating to me that you came from this industry that you knew very well, and then you said, you know what, I want to do something completely different. And I think that is so refreshing and so amazing. I gotta say, when that happened to me, when I decided, you know what, I'm going to do something scary and crazy, and I'm going to cross my fingers and see if it works out. There was also a bunch of other stuff that was going on in my life that kind of influenced me to make a jump that otherwise maybe would not have made sense to me.
Yes.
But made this make more sense. Was there anything else like that was influencing that decision?
Yeah, so absolutely. So as I said, so I met someone, and they were sort of very encouraging of that, and I think that was probably the thing that kind of tipped the scale, because yeah, and I know that especially sort of sellers, newer sellers get this a lot, when they sort of tell their friends and their family, their loved ones, hey, I'm going to do this. Everyone's like, what? Like,
Yes.
Are you crazy?
Are you crazy?
Are you like, but you've got a proper job.
Yes.
I hate that. And it's just, it's like, I have a 9 to 5 that makes me miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And so that's the reason I'm not gonna do it. And so, so I think circumstances, and I think, I think circumstances really kind of gave me the push. It was always at the back of my mind, but there were several things and people that kind of came into my life at that time that I kind of just grabbed the bull by the horns. And it's kind of, sometimes I think that's just what you need, just to kind of give you that little nudge.
I totally agree. Sometimes you're getting that feedback where it's like everybody is against the idea is sometimes the motivation that you need. Sometimes having someone who says, you know what, whether it works out or not, this is going to be a better move because it's something that you're into, something you're passionate about.
Exactly.
And I think it's maybe some of both for some people too. So, okay. So then you study horticulture and you start doing some stuff like that in your work. What does that look like?
So do you mean sort of now, once I finish that and then kind of coming into the Amazon space?
Well, yeah. So, so what kinds of jobs and things did you do as, kind of getting into the horticulture, and then how did that transition then into, now Amazon is a whole different thing.
So I was doing, actual landscape design. I was overseeing the projects. I would do, as I said, a lot of the client management. I do a lot of the sourcing, so whether it's plants, furniture, materials, all that kind of stuff. Obviously I got to work with the crews, and again, having spent time going around with my dad to all his work sites, like I was like well accustomed to pickup trucks and diggers and hanging out with the boys and stuff. So I really enjoyed all of that, and then obviously kind of seeing things. I think for that, it's seeing something come into fruition. And again, that's something then that translated into Amazon when you build a brand, right? Because you create something from nothing. And so that's what I took from it rather. But when I decided to come back to the UK, working outdoors didn't appeal to me as much as it did in the Southern California sunshine. I was just like, I was like, I don't know if I feel like doing that. And at the same time, so the time that I was kind of making the decision, do I renew my visa for another couple of years, or do I move? So, when you live overseas and you're on a visa, you always have these decisions. It's like you have to kind of do an audit of your career or your life every few years. You have to go, right, do I want to go again, or do I want to move on? And so I was thinking about coming back to the UK, wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And that's when the selling on Amazon opportunity presented itself to me through a friend, through Kirsty Verity, actually, who I know that you know. So Kirsty and we were friends in Australia when we both had corporate jobs. We had a mutual friend. And so that's how we knew each other. And I saw a lot of posts Kirsty was making, Facebook posts, and I was like, oh, okay, she's left her corporate job, and what's this Amazon thing? And that's how I got introduced to selling on Amazon. Wow. And so when I went back to the UK, I thought, okay, I'll start selling some gardening products, because I thought, okay, I know what kind of tools worked and what frustrated me. And so I did my product research, and I sort of developed a gardening products brand, and launched three products across three marketplaces, UK, US, and Germany. And I did that for a little bit. So I sort of built a brand and built a business, and then when I was at a Amazon conference, it was one of the amazing live events in Vegas. That's where I met my now 2 business partners, across a sea of American accents, I heard a couple of British accents, and of course we travel in packs. I was like, oh, I think I hear some Brits, and we sort of struck up a conversation. We became friends. We started helping each other out with our businesses because we were good at different things. I was good at writing product listings. Daryl was great at PPC, and Tim was from a training background, so he was really great at SOPs, processes, that kind of thing. So we started, helping each other out with each other's business, and then, you know, helping friends, you know, with their business, and then, you know, sort of word spread. And come 2018, it kind of presented itself to us as a business opportunity. It was kind of the perfect business opportunity. So we switched from sellers to service providers, and yeah, and that's sort of what brings us to where we are today. And now we help, you know, sellers, you know, build profitable businesses with PPC. So that's kind of the building theme that I've sort of carried around with me in different places and different careers, and completely by accident, but it's only in hindsight that, you know, I've kind of connected those dots.
Yeah, and it seems like there's no
cool.
other way it could have happened. When we hear it, like right here on this podcast, it's like this was the perfect path that led you to where you are, and you know, the chances you took. Of course, it makes perfect sense. But when you're in this, you know, when you know, people who are listening are trying to decide what they're doing, or if it's the right thing to have an Amazon brand, or if they're like, you know, should I source another product, or should I close up shop? You know, what's the right move here? You know, there's some really difficult decisions that come from being an entrepreneur, and the path is not clear. You know, I think there is this one quote that I loved about the dots being connected. When you're on a path, you know, the dots are not connected before you connect them, and so you have to make that leap to actually connect those dots, because you're going off the beaten path, and so you're the one that has to make those choices. And whatever you are choosing, you know, I don't want it to sound cliche or trite but true or anything like that, but it really is the right thing for you, even if it is the wrong thing for you to end up doing. Because you know, for me, I know that I have done a lot of different things, and I would not do several of them again.
Sure.
But like in my future life, but I'm grateful that I did those at some point in my past, because of, you know, the skill that it lent me now, or the you know, the insight or clarity into human behavior, or, you know, whatever it is that it gave me. There's always something that you get out of it. So what do you think was a really big lesson that you took from, you know, your journey? If you could choose one, what would you say was something you want to leave the entrepreneurs who are listening with?
You know, I think just to have faith in yourself, and just trust that you're doing what you need to do at that time. I think that like you, sure, I look back and I think, yeah, I would have done things differently, or maybe I wouldn't have done that. But you know, the key is, you know, it still got me to where I am. And I think, you know, had you not done these things, you wouldn't get to where you are today. That's the thing. It's all part of that journey. So you can't kind of, you know, unplug parts of that journey and go, okay, well, I just want to take that bit out and that bit out, because then it wouldn't lead you to where you are. And I think, you know, I would rather have done something and tried it, and then, you know, let the chips fall, than not to have done it and be thinking, what if? You know, I think that's really key, because I think those little things that kind of niggle away at the back of your mind, you know, they're like itches that you need to scratch. I don't think they go away. And so, you know, the longer you kind of hold off, I think one of two things happen. I mean, I'll just kind of keep nagging at you, or I think, you know, potentially, you know, you start to become resentful for not having done that, you know, whether that's, you know, with a career that, you know, and I get it, you know, sometimes you're like, yeah, but it's a really good paycheck, but it makes me miserable. But, you know, there's only one way that that's going to go, if you kind of keep at that. You know, and it's not that I'm, you know, woo woo and hey, you know, you don't need to make money to live. Of course you do. And I get it. It's a trap. However, you know, unless you change, you know, how you feel about that job, or you change jobs, or you change something, you're going to continue to kind of be dissatisfied or be unhappy. And I think it just, it will just manifest itself negatively for you, for your employer, for your job, for your loved ones, whoever, when you just, because you kind of feel like, oh, I'm not doing what I really want to do, or I'm not happy. So, I think, I think right now, with everything that's gone on, because I'm a big believer in silver linings. I think, why not, right? Try to see the positive out of the negatives. Like, what have you got to lose? But I think, now I think there's never been a better time really for people to try new things, or for people to kind of, even if it's to stay in gainful employment, because the Amazon thing is still kind of on the side, to transfer skills, because I don't know what it's like in the US, but here in the UK, there is a big skill shortage. And I think that employers are more open-minded now about skills that people can bring to their roles. Working from home is now acceptable. So whereas maybe if that was never an option for you, but it's better for your family life, there's never been a better time to kind of have that flexibility. So I think there's a lot of opportunities now that certainly weren't available 10, 20 years ago, when you were almost kind of expected to, right, well, this is what you do for a living, and so this is what you're always going to do for a living. I think the opportunity to try new things is amazing.
You're supposed to go through school, you're supposed to listen to your parents, you're supposed to follow in their footsteps, you're supposed to go to college, and then follow that with some type of internship or job or position that gets paid, and you work your way up the corporate ladder, and then you retire, and then your kids put you in a retirement home, and that's life. That's what life looks like.
I mean, so it's great, and there are so many opportunities to do things differently. And I think now, sort of having been in this Amazon space for, gosh, it was 2015, 2016. So that's a few years now. I mean, right now what we're seeing, so I know like 2021, 2020, 2021, really tough years. In terms of, supply chain, inventory management, cost of goods, fees, all sorts. At the same time, it's the age of acquisitions, and see people exiting their business for life-changing sums of money, like generational wealth. I mean, wow, what a gift, what an opportunity. So I think there's a lot of positives to take from all of this as well, and that I mean, to see how the space has changed in such a short amount of time, is incredible. And it's it's allowed me to build a brand, and now to build a business, and to connect with like-minded people, and people like yourself, and and it was unimaginable a few years ago, because we were all doing different things.
100%. It's really
that's
a
pretty
crazy
cool
world we live in now, that I think we do tend to take for granted a little bit, but it's absolutely something that 20 years ago, let's think about how different the world was, and the sounds that the internet made when you connected to it, right?
The little
now thinking about now thinking about that we are selling stuff online, and it's like that to create a site and list a product. And so it's pretty amazing, the places we have been, and the places we'll go. I'm so excited to see what's next, and especially now in the year 2022. So Laura, I want to thank you so much for being here on my podcast, and getting personal, and getting diving deep for some things that maybe you don't share with everyone. So thank you so much for that.
No, thank you. It's been great. Thank you.
Now, Laura, how do people get in touch with you if they wanted to learn more about Sponsored Profit and this amazing, new business that you have set up with your partners, or if they wanted to just learn more about you?
Yeah, sure. So it's really easy to check out our website. So it's www.sponsoredprofit.com. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me there. You can email me at laura@sponsoredprofit.com. So like sponsored products, sponsored profit. So yeah, hit us up on the website, email or LinkedIn, and yeah, I'll be happy to chat and talk all things Amazon advertising if you need some help.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Laura. It was such a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better. And I hope that we can do this again soon. And maybe even talk about, the new year and what that's going to bring.
Fantastic.
All right. Thank you so much, Laura. Cheers, guys. We'll see you next week on Amaze on Stream. Cheers.
Bye.